Om Vang me manasi pratisthita mano me vachi pratishthitam aviravirma edhi vedasya ma'ani sthaha shrutam me ma prahasi anena dhitena horatra samdadhami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmamavatu tadvaktaramavatu avatu mam avatu vaktaram avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So the hymn of the morning sacrifice, hymn number 1. The Rishi hymns the awakening of Agni, the divine force, to conscious action in the coming of the dawn. Agni rises towards the luminous paradise. His goal, feeding on the works of the discernment, which distributes the gifts and activities of the sacrifice, becomes a pure energy leading our days, an ascents to the vastness of the truth. By the truth he fashions anew our two firmaments, the physical and mental consciousness. This is the golden affirmation of him in our heavens. So this is the hymn. Let us start.
Vladimir,
Yes.
you're looking off at the other screen again.
Oh yeah, right. Because it's a bigger screen.
Can you give
Hi.
permission to record?
Oh yeah, so sure, please. Yeah, 1 second. I don't know how to do it. Wait a minute. It says I will find it for our participants here. Yeah, please go ahead.
You have to do something on your end first. Maybe not this time, maybe another time.
What?
Kenny knows how to do that.
Say it again.
Oh, he did it.
I did. Okay. Does it work?
It's not working on my end for some reason. Okay. So let's see.
I think you have to do it for each participant.
Yeah, I did. Permettere di restringere.
Ah, en français, maintenant.
Yeah, it should work. It works. With you, Lynn. It does work. It should work. Okay. Here it is. Yes, you said I'm looking in the different direction. How to make it in the same direction? Wait a minute. Otherwise. Okay. So you can see that this is a Rishi Buddha. Gavishtaraja Atreya. They are from Atri family. Atri from root ad, actually, to eat. They are eaters, yeah? Consumers of the unregenerated being and make it divine. Yeah? They consume it, and by consumption they produce a new state of being and consciousness within us. So we have to be digested by the divine will. Once we are digested, we will be transformed. Let me make it bigger. Oops.
There, that's beautiful.
Okay. Abodhi Agni starts with this. Abodhi Agni Samidha Jananam Pratidhenum Ivayati Mushasam Yahvaiva Pravayam Ujjihanach Prabhanavach Sisratenakam Acha. Strength is awake by kindlings of the peoples, and he fronts the dawn that comes to him as the cow that fosters. Like mightinesses that rush upward to their expanding, his lusters advancing mount towards heavenly level. Awakened is the flame by the kindlings of those who are born in the body, jhana. Towards the dawn he moves, who in return is approaching him as nourishing cow her calf. We too, like the flames of light, arise full of power, springing upward towards heaven. There is an interesting subtle association of Agni with beings who are born here on earth in the material body. They kindle him from within themselves, for Agni is their inner and innermost nature. That's why Rishi says, we too rose up like the beams of the light of Agni straight towards heaven. This first verse makes association with Agni completely subjective, for it speaks about us, those who are born in the material body. This is the beginning of the fifth mandala, the first verse. The awaken is the fire, literally, samidha, by the kindling, jananam, of those who are born. Pratidhanum, towards the cow, iva, as if, ayatim, approaching, ushasam, the dawn, the approaching dawn as if a cow, towards her he woke up. Yahvaiva, and as if full of energy, we rose up, Prabhanavach, the flames or the beams, Sisratenakamacha, which flow straight towards heaven. Acha, straight. So,
it seems very noteworthy that that the function of Agni to illuminate the consciousness and aspire and rise in that upward movement towards heaven, it seems this is almost like a definition of Agni.
Right. And he's rising towards the dawn. That's also an important, because the dawn descends. She comes up from heaven. Yeah? She is preceding the appearance of the sun. She is leading the sun here. Actually, she drags the sun into this manifestation. She is the Divine Mother who is coming here, and the sun, the Surya, follows her, as Kutsan Gerasa would say, as the boy follows the maiden. Yeah, he follows.
So is this the dawn is a descending from heaven movement then, and Agni is a rising from below?
Right. Correct.
That's correct.
Yeah, and he comes to her in another place. It is said as a beggar for delight. He is begging as a beggar the delight from dawn. She brings all the enjoyment and bliss to him who is here burning. And so he is her son, And at the same time, he grows and becomes her husband, the master. It's quite, yes. He is the future Lord of this manifestation. He is the Lord. He is the divine will. But he, in this particular state of being divided, being in the darkness, he is rather a product of that spiritual realm which she represents.
I thought you said that that Surya was the or Savitri was the divine will, not Savitri, Savitar.
Savitar is we spoke about Savitar and Surya, yes, why there are two, the Lord and the Self. So he is more the willing, Vashi, as the Rigveda would say. He is the one who wills. Yes, but the divine will is Agni here, which causes the whole sacrifice. Without Agni, there is no sacrifice. Yeah. It's the intermediary in the darkness. Actually, he is rising from Vivasvat, as it is said in another hymn. He is rising from the sun. So it seems that the sun is below him, as it were.
Wow.
And he is rising to meet the sun above. Now we have here a problem. The two suns. One is below, another is above. He is rising from the sun below and rising to meet the sun above. All right. It's his major definition, to meet the dawn. And that's why in Auroville we have this special celebration, and on New Year Eve, on Sri Aurobindo's birthday, or on Auroville's birthday, we make a fire, bonfire, a huge fire in the center near Matrimandir, and the whole community comes and sits in amphitheater in the center fire. We meet the dawn. We come in the full darkness, and the fire is burning until the dawn is totally, the day is coming. So this is the ritual from the Veda. Abodhi hota yajathaya devan, urdhvo agnih sumanav pratar asthat, samidhasya rushat adarshi pajo, mahan devas tamaso niramochi. The priest of our oblation has awakened for sacrifice to the gods. With the right mentality in him, strength stands up, exalted in our mornings. He is entirely kindled, red flushing. The mass in him is seen. A great Godhead has been delivered out of the darkness.
So is the priest of our oblation, is that the Brahmana? The Brahmin? The Brahmin?
Well,
I mean, does it have to be a Brahmin priest that kindles the oblation, or is
it's
that
Hotar, yes.
Hotar, but I mean, could this also be a description of the inner process?
Of course it is, yes.
It has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. The priest of our oblation, of our offering, what we offer to the divine, he is the priest. The law of it, he knows how to do it. He is the one who is offering of our being to the divine. He is awakened for sacrifice to the gods, to those divine powers which have to be engaged. I have my own interpretation here. The priest is awakened to perform the sacrifice to the gods. The flame stood up high in the morning, bearing the right thought. The flaming power of the kindled became visible. The great god was released from the darkness. It is a symbolic and poetic description of spiritual experience, the awakening of the inner being out of the darkness of material consciousness at the dawn of our spiritual illumination. Thus he is reaching to the surface of our consciousness, ready to act, to invite the gods from above, from the light of the dawn, into the material frame of the physical body for its transformation. The dawn, when the dawn comes, all the gods are called Ushar Buddhah. They are all awakening with the dawn. The dawn is their actualization or activation. Dawn activates all the divine powers here. So without the Divine Mother, all these divine powers are useless. They are sleeping. They are her faculties and children. It is she who is doing all this, activating these powers. They are awakening with her coming, Ushar Buddha. Very interesting word for the gods. So here, what I'm not mentioning, but I have to mention now, is if I literally translate this passage, Abodhihota evoke the fire, the hotar, the one who invokes the gods, Yajathaya, to sacrifice Devan, the gods. He evoke here to sacrifice the gods, the divine powers. That's why most probably he comes to the dawn, because she awakens all the divine powers and he comes to sacrifice them here. He is to bring them down. He is to make them work here in the darkness. And that is what he is doing. It's the divine will which wills all his attributes and faculties and powers to act here in manifestation.
The gods don't really, I mean, do they want to do that?
No, they really don't want to do that.
So I was thinking, I don't know why, if they wanted to, why would it be so hard and such a long journey and such a struggle to get to bring the divine into your own, consciousness?
Right. This question of why it takes so long preoccupies us quite a bit. Yes, why it can't be done faster, and why should we?
It would be good to understand it, because then you don't feel like then you don't have a resentment against God or the divine for making you go through all of this, tribulation of embodiment and getting through this earth plane. I mean, quite clearly, Agni just said, the Rishi Atreya just said in the earlier verse that Agni is, by the divine will is rising up to meet the dawn. And you would think, Agni is so powerful and the dawn is so full of, promise and luminosity. You would think that it would be something that all you had to do was show up for it. Because these enormous divine powers were advancing. They're advancing. They're lustre. They're advancing, and yet there's something that is not advancing, or that is not promoting or supporting that movement. Something, or making it drag out for lifetimes.
Yeah. Well, the dawn has another sister, twin sister, night, and they share the same space. They change. Night is changing to dawn, and dawn is changing to night. They are constantly exchanging their presence in this manifestation. Why the night is important? Because she is to assimilate, accumulate all the powers which the dawn brings into the unregenerated being. So we are here not for ourselves. That's why it takes so long. We are here kind of transformation stations. We are building our individuality, and at the same time we are transforming the world around us and below us and above us. All those forces will come to our field once we are ready to transform them. So our work is not for ourselves, and that's why it takes so long. Until everything is done and transformed, nothing is done.
Quite an adventure.
Yeah, I want to add that to me, the Vedas, particularly some of these ones about Agni, the tradition is that they are extremely old, and I believe it because there are so many similarities to shamanism, the shamanistic traditions of many, and we have the reality to remember that life was, in the material plane, was a supreme challenge in those times. And so, we have our difficulties getting to a spiritual level, and just imagine how much more so it might be with your light from your fire, and perhaps not fully developed agriculture and so forth. So I come to these and see I have a feeling of tremendous respect.
Mm.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So, so the second verse, he is coming here to sacrifice the gods. He awoke here to bring them down, and stood up with perfect mind, Sumana. And his body, Pajas, his staff, Adarshi, is visible, shining, of him being kindled. The great god Mahandevas, Tamasoni Ramochi, was released from the darkness, as if somebody did it to him.
Is darkness tamas?
Yes. The first meaning is darkness, yeah. Tamas.
Aha, tamas.
From tam, to be dark. Okay, so this is the second verse. The third verse. Yadinganasya rushanam ajigah shuchiran kte shuchibhir gobhir agnih ad dakshina yujyate vajayanti uttanam urdhvo adhayat johubhi. When he has uncoiled the long cord of his hosts, strength shines pure by the pure herd of the radiances. For the goddess who discerns grows in plenitude and is yoked to her workings, or to her works. He exalted, she extended, supine. He feeds on her with his flames of the offering.
Say, Vladimir, this is the second time that the word discerns or discernment has been brought up. Can you address that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. The discernment is the major characteristic of knowledge. Yeah? Discernment, especially in the physical, and discernment as intuition. It is that power of drishti, of seeing, from drish. Drish is actually to divide, to cut into pieces, to discern. Discerning and discriminating is actually to cut, cutting in pieces and seeing everything as it is separately.
So how is that different from Pash?
No, Pashyati is used in the first class for the same drish.
Is it exactly the same? Exactly the same kind of seeing?
No, it can't be exactly, because from the different root, but it is of course substituted for the first class, because drish is not used anymore. In the Vedas it is used darshati, but in the classical it is pashyati only. Pashyati is from root spash, to make clear. Also pash is to have a perception, to perceive. Drish is to distinguish rather. Pash is to perceive more.
Okay, that makes sense.
So Yad, okay, I will read my interpretation. When Agni has awakened a long succession of his hosts, having become pure, shines with his pure rays, then the discerning power of the dawn, Dakshina, Sri Aurobindo speaks about the dawn as Dakshina, becomes yoked to his work, bestowing the plenitude upon him. It is on her who is now spread vast. He feeds, standing high, with his flames supported by the offerings. What an image, yeah? It is a description of the next stage of their relationship, when Agni has fully awakened and uncoiled all his powers and hosts, has become fully pure, shining with the pure radiances of the dawn. Then she discerns and grows in plenitude, and is yoked to her, and now to his works also. For there is no difference anymore. She grows wide all over, and he stands high and feeds on her with his flames of offering. This picture explains the meeting of the dawn approaching Agni to feed as the calf in the first verse. So he rushes to her as the feeding cow to feed on her. He wants that milk which she brings, that milk as the symbol of knowledge, or that pure consciousness on which he feeds and grows and becomes strong and becomes the Lord of this creation. He needs her milk, her discernment,
So
her plenitude.
is there a sequential implication in this? Because it seemed to me like what the Rishi was saying, that first there's a long succession, but the first thing that happens is that Agni is awakened. It starts flaming, and then he meets the next step is Agni meeting the dawn, which is the awakening of heaven, and then it's the kind of the co-relation of the light coming from below rising up and the light of heaven coming down, which means it's a total integration of pure consciousness into manifest consciousness.
Power. Yeah, power.
So it's a kind of a cosmic consciousness where there's the world and the earth and the embodiment being commingled or co-joined with the luminous light of pure consciousness, the purity of heavenly consciousness, and bringing those two in an integrated manner into manifestation. But that the discrimination you still, that partially that is accomplished because Agni's striving for it, and she's always coming to meet him, but that there has to be some discernment or some discrimination in order, because otherwise you just mush everything together and it's not pure anymore. It's not pure consciousness, it's just mushy consciousness. I don't know.
Mm.
I mean, the discrimination seems absolutely critical because
Yes, Dakshina. Dakshina is the power of Daksha. Yeah, Daksha is the one, supreme, the highest transcendental, supramental godheads. Yeah, the all perceiving and all discriminating and all effectuating power of the supermind. It's actually our father, Prajapati, of all the creation, yeah? The oneness which supports everything. So Dakshina has something of that Daksha power. Daksha has the capacity to know things in power. And that is discrimination. It's not just knowing without power. It's knowledge which gives you immediately an effective way of dealing with reality. So when we say discerns, we don't mean just knows or in the mind. Discerns in reality. This is the intuitive power which discerns, which gives you immediate, effective um, force to effectuate the manifestation. So she is Dakshina. In that case, the cows of the dawn, Dakshina, the goddess of divine discernment, um,
right.
is here a form of the dawn herself. He needs that. He needs that. Of course, he has his own, but he needs that pure milk with support, and that makes him grow even more powerful. That's why
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
the oblation of the ghritam, of the clarified butter, which Aurobindo associates with our purified mentality, purified with the spirit. Yeah? When the milk, the knowledge, becomes butter, and then it becomes heated up and becomes ghee or ghritam, that ghritam is already transformed mentality by the spirit. If we offer that clarity into the fire, it grows. It becomes powerful in us. The divine will grows. It can offer the world to the higher consciousness. It can take it up, and that's why here it is said that he is exalted. She extended supine, and he feeds on her with his flames of the offering. So it's quite interesting that the offering is needed as it supports him, but for him the knowledge and discernment is needed to take more offering. I do not know whether it makes totally sense, but
makes perfect sense. But otherwise it's just combustion, but it has to be combust in a way that that actually there's some quality of offering there, that's just not just plain combustion, not just flames, but the flames that are being fed to her with the offering. Yeah. So I thought Daksha was a demon.
No.
Somebody killed Daksha.
No, Daksha is the one of the Adityas. Yeah? Daksha, Amsha, and Surya, the triple supermind. There are seven Adityas: Varuna, Mitra, Aryaman, Bhaga, Daksha, Amsha, and Surya. So Daksha is that unifying father of all. In the later literature, he is Prajapati or Brahma, or Brahma as the creator in the masculine gender.
So Dakshina is a creatress.
She has that power, yes, of oneness. She discerns the divine quality in every aspect, and that is the discernment. She sees the oneness of the divine presence in all the uh, bits and pieces.
Wow. Good
And
skill.
and that is what he needs to offer the to grow by offering, to take the darkness and to transform it. He needs that support. And that's why it is said he is like a bhikshu, like a beggar, bhikshamana, begging the delight and the discernment of the dawn, because that makes him totally powerful and able to transform the nature.
You know, a lot of people think that if you do that discernment and on the offering, and then you will connect and have you will connect the lower with the higher, and then you'll have bliss as a result of doing that. But I think it's the other way around, because I think that you can't see the divine in all the pieces without having the bliss there first. I think that somehow you have to have that bliss permeating your consciousness through and through before you're capable of actually seeing the divine in all the pieces. Because otherwise it's just your intellect that is saying
Correct.
the divine is everywhere, the divine is everywhere. But I don't think that you actually know that. You can't really know that or be that until the bliss has come in and those streams of heaven have rained down on you, and you are just completely saturated with pure bliss consciousness. Then you can't not see. You have to. There's no other vision that is. I don't know.
Yes, but we live in time and space. Yes, so once in a while we had that experience that the divine is in every bit. We had the dawning on us. Yeah, we had the fire which got supported by the dawn, and we remember it then by the mind. Then we repeat it that the divine is everywhere, hoping to have that experience again.
Hoping to have it established.
Yeah, hoping to have it always, or to bring it back, or to even remember, to reconnect with that, as a memory, and to bring it back in action. And many times it works. Yeah, if we are not,
Amazing.
if we are not totally stuck to dogma, if we are using it only as a tool or as a means rather than the goal. Yeah, if I am saying dogmatically that the divine is everywhere, then of course I'm just blocking myself away. But if I do it as a help to discover it really, then it can be used.
Right.
At least I think so.
At least we hope so.
Yeah.
We try.
There is a beautiful passage in Savitri which I am quoting here, which is full of this Vedic imagery, inspired by these hymns. Its shape of person and its ego face, divested of this mortal travesty, like a clay troll kneaded into a god, new made in the image of the eternal guest. It shall be caught to the breast of a white force, and flaming with a paradisal touch. This is the offering. Look, it's so clear that unregenerated nature has to be taken by this white force to its breast even. It shall be caught to the breast of a white force, and flaming with a paradisal touch in a rose fire of sweet spiritual grace. In the red passion of its infinite change, quiver, awake, and shudder with ecstasy. As if reversing a deformation spell released from the black magic of the night. Tamasoniramochi, renouncing servitude to the dim abyss, it shall learn at last who lived within unseen, and seized with marvel in the adoring heart, to the enthroned child Godhead kneel aware, trembling with beauty and delight and love. But first, the Spirit's ascent we must achieve, and this is Agni, out of the chasm from which our nature rose. The soul must soar sovereign above the form, and climb to summits beyond mind's half sleep. Our hearts we must inform with heavenly strength, surprise the animal with the occult God. Then kindling the God tongue of sacrifice, calling the powers of a bright hemisphere, we shall shed the discredit of our mortal state, make the abysm a road to heaven's descent, acquaint our depths with the supernal ray, and cleave the darkness with the mystic fire. And that darkness comes later. It comes as something which we will have to face all the time. It's not even our darkness. It is the universal darkness, which we will be able to cleave. We will be able to transform.
You mean as individuals we would be able to, or as a race? You mean just the embodied ones in general would be able to transform?
Yeah, as individuals, in this case, we become more and more universal in consciousness. Yeah, we are still individuals, but we are already having universal powers. His soul breaks out to join the oversoul. His life is oceaned by the super life. He has drunk from the breasts of the mother of the worlds. This is drinking from her milk. A topless supernature fills his frame. She adopts his spirit's everlasting ground as the security of her changing world, and shapes the figure of her unborn mites. This is that when they mix up together and there is no more difference between him and her. Immortally she conceives herself in him. In the creature, the unveiled creatrix works. Her face is seen through his face, her eyes through his eyes. Her being is his through a vast identity. Then is revealed in man the overt divine.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And it fits into the same ideas. These are Vedic visions.
It's pretty hot, you know. It's pretty
Hot.
Well, I mean, you know, for a renunciate, I mean, it's pretty steamy.
Steamy. What a word. Yes, it is hot. It is very hot. It is
Of course
supremely
it
hot.
is. He's quite a passionate dude.
Dude. Right. Yeah, he
His
is.
language is unbelievable. I mean, his command over the. I mean, it's unbelievable how how precise it can be and how illumined it seems.
Yeah, well, especially when we are charged with this Vedic, perception, then we can see something what he wants to say. It's very Vedic. You could see that he uses these images. You know that he was looking, he had experiences before and he couldn't find the way to explain them. You know this. He speaks about this on himself. He says he was looking for language here. Upanishads and even Gita was not enough to explain what he was experiencing. And then he discovered it in the Vedas.
Rigveda.
In the Veda, he discovered the language he needed to describe what he experiences. And this is the Vedic language, I think, in English, of course. But the images are taken from the Veda, the same images.
It's pretty difficult, I think, to really explain the Veda with English, but I think he's done a spectacular job.
Yeah. He was looking for language, yeah, and these metaphoric language of the Divine Mother, the breasts, and all of it, all this kindling, the gold tongue of sacrifice. This is the language which helps. Otherwise, how would you say about these movements of consciousness? What other language you should use? Yeah?
Cows, fingers, dawns, kind of. And most people when they read Rigveda, I remember my teacher Maharshi was just exulting for years and telling us all about Rigveda. Then finally he had us reading Ninth Mandala for our part of our experience, and reading it over and over and over and over, and then writing our experiences in connection with what we were reading over and over and over again. And I know that there were so many people who kept saying, he made the Vedas sound so compelling, and now we're reading it and it's just cows and sister fingers and pressing out stuff, and I have no idea what's being talked about. I have no idea what they're talking about. But once that Agni value gets kindled and he rushes out to meet the dawn, then it all, even the cows, even the fingers, even the sieve, the cloth, all of it makes perfect sense. And it makes perfect, it integrates the experience with the understanding perfectly.
Well, and I think Sri Aurobindo had the advantage on the 19th century English translators that he did not go to press until Victorianism had been laid to rest.
Yeah.
Because if you read between the lines and the footnotes, and people like Moner, he would make mentions. Well, I really can't translate this. And you could see why it would not have gone over in Victorian England.
Yeah. The butchers of the Veda.
Yeah, and quite interesting. All right, let us take one more, number 4. Agni macha devayatam manansi chakshum shiva surye samcharanti yat imsuvate ushasa virupe shveto vaji jayate agre anam. The minds of men who grow in the Godhead move entirely towards the flame of will. Even as all their seeings converge in the sun that illumines. When 2 dawns of opposite forms are delivered of him, He is born as the white steed in front of the days. The minds of men who grow in the Godhead move entirely towards the flame of will, even as all their seeings converge in the sun that illumines. When two dawns of opposite forms are delivered of him, he is born as the white steed in front of the days.
So the two dawns of opposite is that the light and the darkness?
Yeah, here it is his note. That is to say, instead of groping thoughts of other men, their mentality tends to convert itself into a luminous flame of will, that is knowledge, and all their thoughts become a blaze of direct vision, the rays of the sun of truth. That is first note. And second, day and night, the latter, the state of ignorance that belongs to our material nature, the former, the state of illumined knowledge that belongs to the divine mind, of which our mentality is a pale and dulled reflection. Yeah. So when two dawns of opposite forms, the two sisters, night and dawn, are delivered of him, he is born as a white steed in front of the days. In other place it is described that these are two mothers of Agni. It is by them that he grows. He grows by night and by light, by both. His strength is being composed by these two, by divided and infinite consciousness.
So that we now have to look at Putin and see the divine working through him and see his illuminating presence as part of the move of consciousness to universal.
You decided to make fun of me a little, yeah?
I'm not making fun of you at all. I'm actually pointing out that the challenge that this particular verse poses to all of us.
Of course,
Being
Putin will be playing. It's like asuras and devas. They are all churning the ocean. Both are necessary, yes, for Amrita to arise. So we cannot say that asuras are not needed. They are needed because they are calling for the deeper light in us.
They really are. They have to. Yeah, it has to, because do you know who Cher is? You know, the singer, Cher.
No, I don't know, Cher. Who
Oh.
is?
Is how it's spelled. But imagine a woman who started out as a popular singer and now, as a woman our age, is a leader in a strange way.
Well, so somebody asked her on a talk show whether she just said, "Can you say something nice about Trump?" And she had a chance, for Agni to rise up and burn there and to meet the dawn, and she couldn't do it. She said, "There's nothing good about him. There's nothing." But so, I mean, it's like part of the job of the sacrifice seems to be to illumine the consciousness that's able to see the divine working even in the darkness. So that seems to be the two opposite forms can be delivered to him only when you're capable of being able to see the divine working even in a filthy creature like that.
But can you say something good about Trump? I was thinking, could I find something really divine in him?
Well, I'm sure you could. I'm quite sure that I could. But it would. I mean, he's what this verse seems to be saying is that that, you know, everything that exists has a function, and either it's going to be a function of one of the dawns or the other of the dawns. But when they're delivered to him, Agni, or of him, he's born as the white steed, the one. When you can see them, when you can see that in any of the dawns, either of the dawns, then you're delivered. Then you're good. You're born as the white steed.
In front of the days. This is something third, you know, there is a new quality is being born by these two mothers, by the illumination of the infinite consciousness and this divided selfish consciousness. Both of them are working on this steed, on this new formation, which is to be born. So in that sense, of course, he is also useful. He is also working on this steed in his way. He is shadowing the forces. He is causing or calling for a deeper light, for a deeper overcoming of the darkness and selfishness, presenting it very obviously to others, that they can see in themselves the selfishness, that they are disgusted by it in themselves and others, that they are becoming very clear, the discerning power of
that's what I was going to say. There is where, that's what the gift is giving us the opportunity to discriminate and discern where that darkness is hiding in the creation and in the environment and in our own consciousness.
Yeah. And even he does good things also, not only bad things, but for his people, for his kind, who are behind him. I'm sure there are few people who are benefiting from it, at least half of US. They were voting for him. So
no, they didn't vote for him.
Well, I would add here on my my activities yesterday, which caused me to not be awake early, because I volunteered as a poll worker in Oklahoma, in my home district, and which is heavily Republican, and but racially kind of diverse. But I can often spot the Trump voters who feel as though they've got to wear some sort of armor, who don't trust that anyone will, listen to them. So they're, they vote a straight Trump ticket, and they come in, they waiting for something to happen to demonstrate that, that things are against them. And, of course, my job at the polls is to welcome everyone who is eligible to vote and thank them for voting. But I would say that without this, these are people who feel they have no voice. And so they are having their voice, and ultimately not the majority voice of the country, but they're being heard. So,
so there you go. There's one of the opposite forms being delivered of him.
Right. Very good. Okay, we can stop here for today and continue next time from this verse, looking into it deeply, what it means that the mind grow into this fire and to become pure discernment. They leave behind this mentality of human beings and change their quality totally into the divine discernment. Okay, I am closing with the mantra. Om Vang me manasi pratisthita mano me vachi pratishtitam aviravirma eti vedasya ma'ani sthaha shrutam me ma prahasihi anena dhitena horatran samdadhami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmamavato tadvaktaramavato avato mam Avatu Vaktaram, Avatu Vaktaram. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om. Okay, see you then next time.
Vladimir, before you go, I need, or would you stay on for a minute so I can ask you a question about